Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Impactful Engineer. In today's solo episode, I'd like to dive right into something that I've been thinking about, and it's kind of applicable to this time of year, although we're kind of on the back end of it now. And that is the dead zone time of year. It's the holiday time of year where those two holidays are smashed back to back. It's the end of the calendar year. People are looking to cash in on their PTO, take some time off. They've burn the midnight oil for so long, trying to achieve the work-life balance that everybody talks about. So they're going to now take a bunch of time off. What I want to talk about is this time period where, the incoming emails slow down. You're not getting 200 a day anymore. Project timelines are kind of, lingering. They're in limbo. Communication feels like it's kind of evaporated. Your office might be a ghost town. You're just otherwise not so frantically busy all the time. So people are gone for weeks, mentally checked out. The machine that used to be producing work and managing multiple competing deadlines and just moving forward and taking work in and producing great products and great services over and over and over again. That time where you're just in the mode, you're in the game. That machine kind of starts to falter a little bit and slow down, and the flywheel that's been keeping you going is now grinding to a halt, and you're losing momentum, right? And then eventually there's this kind of painful restart that comes, typically early January. So if that sounds familiar, this episode might be for you. We might have a different take on it to make that time of the year just a little more palatable. And give you an edge, because on this show, one of our missions is to accelerate your career and give you a competitive advantage. And so I think this will do it. So step one, how do we give ourselves a competitive advantage? Actually, let's talk about what actual problem we're solving. I don't know if I covered that. So the problem is that you take this machine that has huge amounts of momentum and you slow it down to a complete stop, everyone's gone, and then you try to restart it again 2 to 3 weeks later. And I think the real people that have competitive advantage in their engineering career are going to find a way to keep that momentum going, even if it's just at a reduced percentage over that time period, so they can jump right back in at the beginning of the year. So how do we do that? Well, I've got a few thoughts on that. First one I'd like to discuss is to actually prep for this time. So we like to work, and then take time off. We work right up until the point we take time off. So before this time period, before the holidays hit, schedule your required meetings, schedule your milestones, schedule the things that are going to keep things running smoothly ahead of time. So lock in the game plan for when everyone returns. Think strategically about milestones and deliverables, what matters most to your clients, right? What can wait, what can't wait. This isn't about abandoning deadlines or punting them downfield. It's about being strategic. So you can't, for example, let's say you've got a milestone set for December 24th. That's a bad idea. Whoever decided that was not thinking ahead. It's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. You might just be checking the box, but everybody's already checked out well before that. So the work you're doing at that time is really not your best work. So what I'd recommend instead is moving it up a week or pushing it back into January. And this is ahead of time. This is not the day before saying, hey, it's a bad idea, guys. Let's push it back. This is something you're going to plan for when you're negotiating the schedule ahead of time. So I would always keep this black hole of the end of the year in mind when you're scheduling things. So basically, you're going to give yourself the chance to hit it when your team has fresh minds and energy to tackle it properly. This one shift alone can save you from unnecessary headaches, right? So, for example, do you have a new job starting around the end of the year? So this is a job that's just come in. You're negotiating the timeline, and it'll start around the end of the year in this black hole period. This is the perfect chance to let everyone know that their dreams of getting a deliverable out in the middle of the holiday season is delusional. You already have many other deliverables promised for December, I can assure you. that have been planned for months, and you cannot move those, right? Unless the magical schedule creep fairy comes by and sprinkles some dust on a client and talks them into realistic expectations, right? Unless you've got some magical way of convincing the client that, hey, deadlines in this black hole period is not a good idea. Let's just shift these. That doesn't always go over so well the closer you are to that period. So just know that you'll be back against the wall already. Convince the team to make the first deliverable towards the end of January. So with these other projects that are already due, and you're planning this new project to start around that time, let's just go ahead and convince the team that starting it towards the middle of January, when everybody's back, everybody's crunch time is over, and we're ready to start working again, and we've gotten our momentum, that then we have these deliverables, that then we have this work commence. Why would we schedule a new project right in the middle of all that chaos? It just doesn't make any sense. So you know that your back's going to be against the wall in December. So just convince that team, bring it up, just put it right out there that, hey, just so you guys know, the client's taking 2 weeks off. The owner is not going to even look at whatever we deliver. I got 75% of my staff that's not even going to be here. We're going to be in and out. This is the absolute worst time to start a project. Why don't we just do us all a favor and start it when we're all back and everybody's in the office? Sound good? Cool. So communicate that early. Let your clients know what's realistic. If you know most of your team is disappearing, like we talked about, then hit the deliveries hard and fast before everybody disappears for the things that you've already committed to. And then do yourself a favor and schedule the new stuff for after everyone gets back. So that's one step. Just to recap, set reasonable and logical and sensical deadlines for your projects that you've been committed to and for the ones that you're setting up right now. Just do yourself a favor and make sure you think about that ahead of time, and don't schedule things for that period you know is going to be chaotic. Another thing is communications during this downtime. If you're on vacation, I get it. You want to unplug, right? But here's the deal. It's just 30 minutes. You could just take 30 minutes in the morning with your coffee to check emails, manage client expectations, and keep things moving. Why wouldn't you do that, right? It's 30 minutes. If you want to completely unplug, totally understood. So you can't do that. You can't just take 30 minutes to check on everything and make sure that you're keeping the communication alive, which is really all they expect. But you can't do it. Fine. Set up some automatic responses. But don't just do the, hey, I'm gone and I'll see you when I get back. That might work internally. Externally, you don't want to create that perception. So I'd make your automatic response a little more detailed. Let clients know exactly when they'll hear from you and who they can reach out to if it's urgent, right? Well, hint, hint, nothing in this industry is actually urgent in the AEC industry. There's nothing an engineer can do in a 24-hour period that will wreck the entire project. If it's an emergency, someone other than someone that sits behind a desk and draws things in a model is going to be taking care of that emergency. So these 24-hour turnaround things, it's just not going to happen. And just remember, people create disastrous urgency in their minds because they feel the pressure from the ethos that they're involved in and don't know how to handle it. So they're passing it on to you. It doesn't mean that you need to feel the urgency, but it does mean that you need to manage the emotions of your client or the owner or whoever is important, the stakeholders of this project. Because it doesn't matter what the truth is, it matters what the client perceives the truth to be. So just remember that. So here's the go-to move for setting up automatic replies while you're out. Make sure the person you're forwarding emergencies, quote unquote, has the resources to respond effectively. So don't just set someone up, but know that they're going to be in and out of the office and unreachable, and you're creating this loop of people chasing each other around. Don't say it if it's not going to be a good avenue for the client to take. Don't set them up to fail, basically. And if you're the one staying behind, this is a golden opportunity. Communicating when others aren't will set you apart, all right? Trust me on this. Clients remember people who are responsive to their needs. You're only as good as your last interaction, so make the interaction count. So you can actually take advantage of this quiet period when people actually have time to solicit feedback. New Year feedback is quite common. End of the year surveys can go out. Take advantage of that. And I would say the third step. So we've talked about preparation, basically. Thinking ahead of time on the things that you can do to set your team up for success that would otherwise lead to chaos and the perception that you don't know how to run your business. We've talked about, quote unquote, keeping the lights on, communicating. Someone is here. We will take care of you. Don't you worry about it. We're communicating. We're being responsive. It doesn't mean we're sticking around with overtime and working our asses off. We're not going to do that when everybody's gone. We don't even have the ability to do that. But what we can do is communicate. Another thing you can do is really think about, what does work-life balance mean? Because this happens every year because people believe that they just need to take a bunch of time off all at once, and that's somehow magically going to create some sort of balance for them. Here's my take on it. It's probably going to hit some nerves. It's probably going to be controversial, but whatever. So let's talk about it. The mythical work-life balance, right? So taking that PTO and disappearing for 2 to 3 weeks without a plan, in my opinion, doesn't create balance. It creates chaos. So when you return in January to a mountain of unanswered emails, status updates no one knows, and the whole machine of your team and production that's just rusted to a stop, that's not balance in my opinion. That's avoidance of work. And I'm not saying don't take the breaks. Like, take the breaks. Do the stuff. Have the balance everybody talks about. But put in the extra work ahead of time to make sure your clients and your colleagues don't see a black hole for the end of December and the beginning of January. When people return and are, to work and are sluggish to get restarted, the situation that you've created will only suck them in and keep them from moving forward. These surprise and unscheduled site visits that need to happen right away as soon as you get back. These crunched deadlines, IFCs right when you get back, lack of information. Nobody knows status on anything. It wasn't well prepared. We haven't been communicating correctly while we're out. That's not balance. That's avoidance of work, and it will inevitably lead you to chaos. How about we keep the balance everybody talks about, but let's redefine balance just a little. So almost like integration. How I think about it is work-life integration. Your work absolutely affects your life, and your life absolutely affects your work. Just simply leaving for 2 to 3 weeks and shutting it all off so you can spend your PTO and maintain that quote-unquote balance while leaving your work in shambles and clients and peers in the dark, only to have this insurmountable, chaotic start to the year when you get back, just contributes to the pain of not achieving balance. I don't understand how this is balanced when you leave for vacation and you forget about work. Load the lift side of the scale to the tipping point, then return to have the balance swing completely the other way and create this totally imbalanced condition. It just doesn't sound like balance to me. It sounds like, in my mind, the analogy is like someone tries the tightrope for the first time, flailing their arms, wriggling their body around, falling off every 2 seconds. Not really well balanced. I'm not sure that's the balance we're looking for. True balance isn't about running from work to overindulge in life and then swing back to the chaos. It's about integration. Your work affects your life, and your life affects your work. So how do you redefine the balance? I would say by doing what we're talking about. Prepare ahead of time. Communicate expectations with your clients and colleagues. Keep the momentum going, even if it's at a reduced pace. The black hole of December doesn't have to suck everyone into a vortex of inefficiency later and create this chaos. Let's just put a little more thoughtful work in ahead of time while we are working, instead of running around just trying to solve what's in front of us one at a time until the clock tells us that we're supposed to be off. That doesn't create balance. So here's what I'm thinking. When January rolls around, you and your team, if you implement these things that we've talked about, aren't scrambling to restart the engine. Instead, you're already moving. Clients are happy. They've heard from you. Your coworkers aren't drowning in chaos because they've been updated on status. Schedules have been made with the vacations accounted for. That's balance. That's how you stay ahead of the game. So, take the breaks, sip the eggnog, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the new year, make those goals, take your time off, but put in the effort to avoid the catastrophic restart. Do the work now, and you'll thank yourself later. And if your competitors don't, well, you'll be miles ahead of them when they're untangling the mess they left behind, and you're ready to start killing it again.